First of all, fate. Pronunciation is fate. Fate is perhaps the overriding themes of this epic poem, Aeneid. And the action centers around Aeneas's determination to fulfill his destiny. Aeneas's destiny, and that is also concerned about great Roman civilization's destiny. On the action of the epic hero Aeneas, the fate of Roman civilization existed. If Aeneas would fail, we wouldn't have this great civilization called Roman civilization. And Virgil very fantastically presented how Roman civilization was established, and who was the initiator, and what was the history, that means the previous history of this great civilization with this epic poem, the Aeneid. And for this reason, the central action is faith. Of course, in case of faith, that is the central theme of this epic poem, the Aeneid. If not for himself, then for his son, not only for Aeneas, but also the successive generation of Aeneas, that means Aeneas' son, that is whose name is Ascanius, or you can call Ascanius. Okay? And for the generation of heroes who will succeed him, that means who will be the leader of Roman civilization. Okay? So, Aeneid is about great Roman civilization, about Aeneas, about Aeneas' previous heroes, and also the successive, that means later, who will be the heroes and leader of this great civilization. And with everything, fate intervened with the action of this epic poem, the Aeneid. Though there are many who attempt to sway Aeneas from his destined path, that means most notably JnU. Okay? Actually, Aeneas wanted to establish the great civilization, but that was not easy. Many things came before Aeneas so that he could not establish the great civilization. One of them, that is the involvement of God and Goddess. One of them is JnU. JnU in every way tried to distract Aeneas' action. Okay? Every time she suffered Aeneas. And the goddess, whose anger leads her to set countless obstacles to disturb the Trojans on their journey, and some of them are successful in delaying in the course of events, and there is nothing that can be done to prevent Aeneas from building the city that will one day become the great Roman Empire. Okay? Rome, Italy, Rome. Okay? The capital of Italy in Rome. So centering Italy, centering Roman Empire started centering Italy's Rome. Okay? That is the Roman civilization. So many obstacles had been there for establishing the great civilization, but Aeneas, the hero, he overcome all the obstacles and established this great Roman Empire. And fate intervenes in which way? That means JnU obstacles many aspects of this epic poem. Even Jupiter, at the outset of the box, chides the gods for attempting to meddle in the affairs of the mortals. And the involvement of gods and goddesses was so many that Jupiter, the great god, he rebuked Jupiter rebuked other god and goddess. Why you are disturbing Aeneas and the other mortals? So don't interfere the activities of the mortals. That was the command done by Jupiter. Jupiter in Greek, Zeus. Zeus, and Jupiter is the supreme god in mythology. And although they may alter the manner in which the events transpire, they can do nothing to change what Jupiter has decreed will be. Throughout the Aeneid, there are many references to the inevitability of Aeneas' success. Okay? And two notable instances are when Anchises takes Aeneas on the journey through the underworld and shows him his great descendants and when Vulcan builds Aeneas a shield that depicts the founding of Rome and the future of the Roman Empire. There is a proverb that is, what is noted that cannot be blotted. Okay. In case of Greek, this epic poem, it was noted that Aeneas will be establishing the great Roman Empire. Many things, many persons, many gods and goddesses came as an obstacle. Dido was an obstacle. The queen of Carthage, that was an obstacle. Okay, the Cyclops, one-eyed demon, that was an obstacle. Okay, and also the last time the Turnus, that was the obstacle for establishing the great Roman Empire. So who is fate there? Who is fate there? That is fate intervened in the guise of king. তাহলে এখানে ভাগ্যের ইন্টারভেনশন কোথায়? ভাগ্যে যেটা আছে সেটা করবে। Aeneas the great Roman Empire establish করবে, এটা ছিল তার ফেট, এবং সেটাকে বিভিন্নভাবে হাইলাইট করার চেষ্টা করেছে। তাহলে সেটা কারা করেছে? জুনো করেছে, জুপিটার করেছে, সাইক্লোপস করেছে, ডিডো করেছে। Okay, all these things, all these persons and things and demons tried to hinder Aeneas' fate, that means establishing the great empire. But successfully, Aeneas overcome all the barrier and established the great Roman Empire. Okay. So, fate and involvement of fate is one of the major themes in this epic poem, the Aeneid. Clear? Okay. Let's move on to the gods and goddess. Okay. Another theme, that is the involvement of god and goddess. We know that in every epic poem we see the involvement of god and goddess. So this is not an exception. In case of this epic poem, the Aeneid, we see the involvement of god and goddess. In the previous section, we have been talking about the involvement of Juno, involvement of Vulcan. Vulcan, he made a shade for Aeneas, and it was thought that without the shade made by Vulcan, Aeneas wouldn't overcome the fight. Aeneas wouldn't kill Turnus. Okay? So, in epic poem, one of the major characteristics is involvement of gods and gods. So, in this epic poem, we see such kind of involvement of god and goddess. So, from the beginning till end, we see that is the gods and goddesses are involved in this epic poem. And even more interesting that the mortals with whom they appear so fascinated, having highly distinctive personalities, taking extraordinary measures to see their wishes achieved. Okay, so gods and goddess, actually they didn't came bodily to fight for Aeneas or against Turnus. তারা হয়তো একজন মানুষের শরীর নিয়ে এনিয়াসের পক্ষে অথবা বিপক্ষে যুদ্ধ করতে আসে না, কিন্তু তারা এমনভাবে ইনভলভমেন্ট ছিল যে কোনোভাবে তারা যেটা চায়, জুনো যেটা চায় সেটা এস্টাবলিশ করার চেষ্টা করেছে। জুপিটার যেটা চায় সেটা এস্টাবলিশ করার চেষ্টা করেছে, কিউপিড যেটা চায় সেটা এস্টাবলিশ করার চেষ্টা করেছে। ওকে, so everything, that means gods and goddesses, they tried in every possible way to hinder Aeneas's action. And what was Aeneas's action? Aeneas wanted to establish the great empire. He fled from Troy. That means Aeneas had a tradition or a glorious past that they are the Trojan warriors, and the Trojan warriors, they had been fighting against Greek for 10 years. Okay, so they did it. Modern readers may be more comfortable with the idea of gods who are above the petty grievances of individual mortals, but Virgil creates supreme beings who appear to have little more to do than discuss the intricacies of the lives of those below them. Jupiter even calls a council on Mount Olympus. Mount Olympus means in Greek mythology, it was considered that all gods and goddesses live in a home. What is their home? There is a hill. That hill is Mount Olympus, and that Mount Olympus is the abode. Abode means dwelling place of all gods and goddesses. Jupiter called an assembly over there, called a conference over there, just to rebuke other gods and goddesses that don't interfere in the actions of Aeneas and the other persons in this in their mortal activities. Okay, so God's involvement of gods and goddesses is one of the key characteristics of an epic poem. We see in Aeneid. In Aeneid, this is not an exception. We see involvement of god and goddesses much more. Okay, here, and Jupiter also intervenes there. And between Venus, and also he wanted, that means who wanted? Jupiter wanted to mitigate the quarreling between Venus and Juno. Okay, Juno is on the side of Turnus and Venus is on the side of Aeneas. Okay, and it was thought that not the mortals are fighting, it was thought that the gods and goddesses are fighting. So Juno and Venus, they had been quarreling in such a way that Jupiter tried to mitigate the quarreling between Juno and Venus. Okay, so involvement on god and goddesses will one of the key themes of this. To discuss the fate of Aeneas and Turnus. Okay, so Venus was on the side of Aeneas and Juno was on the side of Turnus. Okay, so their quarreling was so severe that Jupiter tried to mitigate the quarreling between Juno and Venus. Interestingly, although the gods do have the power to manipulate the manner in which the events transpired, they cannot change the ultimate outcome. That is the previous theme, that is the fate. That means Aeneas was destined that he will be establishing the great Roman Empire. So gods and gods involvement will be there. They had tried in their every possible way, but they couldn't stop the ultimate outcome. What is the outcome? That means Aeneas was destined to establish the great Roman civilization. But through the involvement of god and goddesses, Virgil wanted to convey that this is one of the epic properties in this epic poem. Destiny is supreme. Another thing, that's I think the most important theme of this epic poem, that is patriotism. Okay. In case of every quarreling, in case of every fighting, there is a common theme. Okay. Everybody is very much rigid in their logic and position. Greek were fighting against Troy, they had a logic. That means their Helen had been kidnapped. Troy, they had been fighting to protect their country. Here, Aeneas, he was destined to establish a city called Great Roman Empire somewhere in this arc. he is strong and rigid in his logic. And in which country they will be establishing the empire, they were also, this is our country, why you have come here and they will be establishing the great empire. Okay. So, Greek, Rome, Aeneas, and the Carthage, and also the other places where Aeneas went. যে যে জায়গাগুলোতে এনিয়াস গিয়েছিল প্রত্যেক জায়গার মানুষ তো বলতে পারে যে ইয়েস আমরা তো এটা তো আমাদের দেশ, তুমি কেন এখানে তোমার রোমান এম্পায়ার এস্টাবলিশ করলাম? দিস ইজ দেয়ার লজিক। বাট ইন এভরি কেস দেয়ার ওয়াজ আ কজ, দ্যাট ইজ দ্য patriotism. That means everybody would love their country very much. Though excessive patriotism can cause oil. So that is there. Virgil quite clearly intended that Aeneid to appeal the patriotic spirit of the Romans, documenting the origins of the great Roman Empire. Virgil's contemporaries who relished their belief that they were direct descendants of the mighty Trojans undoubtedly would have enjoyed a story portraying their race as one destined for greatness. The epic often refers to the destiny of Aeneas' descendants. Most importantly, Aeneas' victory is inevitable because it is his fate as well as the fate of his son Ascanius to lay the groundwork of the Rome's shining future. Okay, so in case of Aeneas, in case of Iliad, in case of Achilles, in case of Hector, in case of Turnus, there is a portion that is common, that everybody would love their country, and that is the patriotic zeal. So Aeneas তো ভাবতেই পারতো কি দরকার এত দূর জার্নি করে। ডিডোর সাথে he had a very good relation. Aeneas lost his wife, lost his father. He started living with Dido as husband and wife. So Aeneas could stay with Dido for his next life. সেখানে রাজার হালে সে এনিয়াস সেখানে ডিডোর সাথে বসবাস করতে পারত, কিন্তু সে করেনি কেন? Why? For the cause of the love of his country. That means they were the Trojan soldiers. They have a rich ancestral glory. তাদের পূর্বপুরুষরা কারা? তাদের পূর্বপুরুষ, এনিয়াসের পূর্বপুরুষ কারা? ট্রোজান হিরোস। এদের যে গর্বগাথা ছিল, এই গর্বগাথাই তাকে অনুপ্রাণিত করেছে যে ডিডোর সাথে সে সময়টা অতিবাহিত না করে এই কষ্ট সাধ্য যে জার্নি অ্যাডভেঞ্চার সেটা পরিচালনা করতে। এর কারণ কি? দ্যাট ইজ দ্য অনলি রিজন, দ্যাট ইজ দ্য প্যাট্রিয়টিজম। অনলি ফর দ্য কজ অফ প্যাট্রিয়টিজম, অনলি প্যাট্রিয়টিজম, not only will be loving the country, will be loving the previous great heroes that Aeneas did when he went to underworld and did the underworld journey. Patriotic person will be loving a country's culture. Patriotic person will be loving the country's context, language, everything will be there. Okay, so Aeneas could easily pass his days with love, with Dido, but he didn't do so. Only for the cause of his patriotic zeal. Patriotic zeal, that means excessive love for his own country. He did it. Okay, and giving away all the comfort of his life, Aeneas went to his destined fate. That means he will be establishing the great Roman Empire. And with all these sufferings, there was one cause, that is patriotism. So patriotism, of course, is a great theme of this epic poem, the Aeneid. Virgil's patron Caesar's Augustus is even directly mentioned twice in the epic. He appears in the underworld. Whenever Aeneas went to the underworld journey, he met with several great leaders, and also he observed there the upcoming, that means the next leaders. Among them, that is Augustus, Caesar Augustus, and he appears in the underworld when Anchises points out the shade that will become Augustus. যখন সে underworld, আমি বললাম Aeneas যখন underworld জার্নি করে তখন তার বাবা Anchises তাকে দেখালো যে ওই যে underworld একটা শেড দেখতে পাচ্ছ, ওটা হচ্ছে কি, ওটা হলো অগাস্টাস, যে কিনা পরবর্তীতে গ্রেট রোমান এম্পায়ারকে অনেক দূর আগামী এবং 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 এনপিএসএস-এর প্রতি তার বাবার প্রতি যখন যার ভক্তি ছিল, এবং সেখানে এটাও দেখানো হয়েছিল আন্ডারওয়ার্ল্ডে যে গ্রেট যোদ্ধারা তাদের জন্য একটা স্পিরিচুয়াল জায়গা আছে থাকাতে। ভার্জিল তো এটা নাও করতে পারে, ভার্জিল তার এপিক পয়েন্ট ওটা দেখিয়েছে কেন যে প্যাট্রিয়টিক যারা পার্সন তারা তাদের দেশের পাস্ট গ্লোরিয়াস পাস্ট লিডার্স countries basically everything they will love. So we have seen this in this epic poem, the Aeneid. Okay, so Augustus leading the Italians into battle that depicted on Vulcan's extraordinary shield, and this reference to Augustus would have been particularly appealing to Virgil's contemporaries, portraying their leader as heroic man directly descended from the gods. So that means Virgil portrayed the great leaders of Roman Empire in such a way that means they are the descendant of gods. তার মনে হচ্ছে রোমান এম্পায়ারের প্রিভিয়াস লিডারদের এমনভাবে পোর্ট্রে করেছে ভার্জিল, মনে হচ্ছে যে তারা হচ্ছে গডের প্রতিনিধি। কারা? এই রোমান এম্পায়ারের আগের যারা লিডার ছিল এবং পরের যারা লিডার ছিল। এটা ভার্জিল কেন করেছে? ইন অর্ডার টু পোর্ট্রে দ্য প্যাট্রিয়টিক নোশন, in order to portray the patriotic zeal of Virgil as well as the patriotic zeal of the protagonist Aeneas. Yeah, so of course, and also one thing, as I would say, epic hero, who will be the epic hero? If I can fight, I can't be the epic hero. Epic hero will be fight for the country. Epic hero will not be fighting for his own self. They will be fighting for the country. And also there is another cause. Epic hero will be fighting for heroic immortality. Heroic immortality. So Aeneas surrendered all his comfort of his life and went to his adventurous journey, and he established the great Roman Empire. So of course, patriotism is one of the important themes of this epic poem, the Aeneid. Yes, please.
I think epic hero is the person who fights for his country and heroic immortality. And Achilles was not the person who fight for his country. He withdrew the fight for his own personal problems.
Yes.
But Hector was the person who fought for his country.
Yes.
And knowing that he will die, he ultimately fought with Achilles and sacrificed his own life for his country.
Yes.
I think Hector should be the person.
Yes, good. Okay. Thank you. What's your name? Yeah. Prince. Okay, Prince has done a very good question. In case of Achilles and Hector, who would be the epic hero? Yes, Hector. But there is another clue, that is Hector had been fighting for his country, and also Achilles had been fighting for the heroic immortality as well. Hector didn't have the gods and goddesses involvement. That means Achilles' mother was epic hero will be half human and half divine spirit. So in that case, we will see that Achilles will have the divine involvement. That means his mother was Hera. In that case, Hector was not. Okay, so we see some characters of epic hero will be similar, will be quite similar to Achilles' character, and some characters are similar to Hector. Okay, so you can say that if establish that Hector is also epic hero, and also Achilles can also be the epic. Okay. Okay. Another theme is prayer. Okay, and one of the most important values of Virgil's day was piety, or the reverence of the gods, and throughout the epic, the virtuous characters sent prayers to the gods asking for assistance, whether in the form of sacrifices, such as Aeneas' sacrifices of the white cow and the sucklings, or more request. So time and again Virgil reveals that prayer works, and the characters who ask for God's help frequently receive it, while those who disrespect the gods and claim not to need their aid are punished. Okay, so another thing is prayer. In Aeneid we see that Aeneas has sacrificed white cow and also the sucklings in order to make the gods and goddess happy. The ways of making God and goddess happy is to pray and is to sacrifice. So here we see that Aeneas sacrifices a white cow and a suckling for the gods and goddess, and in the same way, another way of that is the prayer. So Virgil wanted to convey the message that the characters in Iliad who prayed for the god, they were successful, and who disrespect the gods and goddess, they were punished. So that is the theme of prayers in the epic poem Aeneid. Religious rituals and omens. Omen means bad signs. Okay. Throughout the Aeneid, many of the characters make offerings to gods in order to secure their favor or assistance. Indeed, Aeneas appears to spend much. Yes. Prayers এর মধ্যে এটা যায়, rituals prayers এর মধ্যেও যায়, but you can put it. Indeed, Aeneas appears to spend much of the book making sacrifices to one god or another, even sacrificing a white cow and 30 white sucklings to Juno. The source of his respect for the gods was viewed as a great virtue during Virgil's era. So at Virgil's time, it was thought that if anybody respects the god and goddess, that was a good quality. And if anybody wouldn't respect and follow the rituals attributed to God, rituals মানে কিছু ceremony, যে ceremonyগুলো করলে গড এবং গডেস খুশি হয়, সেই কাজ যারা করত তাদের প্রতি গড অ্যান্ড গডেস সন্তুষ্ট হয়ে তাদেরকে পুরস্কৃত করত। এটাই ছিল ভার্জিলের সময়ে ট্রেডিশন। ওকে, so in Virgil's time it was thought that rituals, prayers, they are important for having their rewards or for getting punishment. Yes. ঘটনা কোনো একটা সময় একটা গড হচ্ছে রাগান্বিত হয়ে গেছিল, তাকে খুশি করার জন্য হোয়াইট কাউ বলে দিয়ে। সাকলিংটা হলো, এটা বলা হচ্ছে সাকলিং মানে হচ্ছে কোনো শিশু যে এখনো মানে দুগ্ধজাত শিশু, স্তন পান করে, এরকম শিশু। এটা আল্লাহ 30টা 30 হোয়াইট সাকলিংস টু জুনো, জুনুকে সন্তুষ্ট করার জন্য। কারণ জুনু চাচ্ছিল যে এনিয়াস হচ্ছে ডিডোর সাথে থেকে যাক। জুনু চাচ্ছিল এনিয়াস হলো ডিডোর সাথে থেকে যাক। ডিডোর সাথে থাকলে কি হবে? গ্রেট রোমান এম্পায়ার এস্টাবলিশ হবে না। ইয়েস, এই জন্য জুনো সেটা চেয়েছিল, এবং এই জুনোকে খুশি করার জন্য জুনো যে রেগে গিয়েছিল এই জন্য জুনোকে খুশি করার জন্য the 30 sucklings he offered. Okay, so rituals. Another theme is that is the respect for the ancestors. We have talked about that. Okay, that means the epic hero Aeneas was respectful for the ancestors and the previous heroes and heroes. Okay. Good. Smart, very smart. I can. Yes. So, respect for the ancestors, that was also another theme of this. এগুলো তো ছোট ছোট, হয়তো 2-3টা একসাথে থাকতে পারে, 2টা বা হ্যাঁ, এই থিমগুলো আসতে পারে, 1-2টা। Humanity, another theme. One of the Virgil's most important extraordinary skill was his ability to craft truly complex character, even though the line between good and evil in the Aeneid is rather clear, that Aeneas is good and Turnus is bad. You dropped the tissue paper. Get the tissue paper, put it over there so that the grate will shut it, please. Okay, go, take your seat, please. Perfect. Okay, so humanity is another. So who is good? Virgil wanted to convey that there is a conflict between good and evil everywhere in the literary creation. Okay, Virgil wanted to convey that Aeneas is good and Turnus is bad. Okay, but overall, even in the most admirable character displays faults, and even the most heinous villain has moments when he seems somewhat redeemed. Okay, actually, all good. Aeneas will not always be good, and Turnus will not always be bad. Although Turnus is clearly the antagonist of the story, that means the villain, Turnus was the villain, kintu he displays a courage that rivals Aeneas' own. Okay? And even Aeneas, who frequently appears almost too perfect, reveals that he too has human shortcomings when he is swayed of courses by his passion for Dido. তাহলে যদি আমরা বলি যে Aeneas says every action is perfect, so next we can make question. So why Aeneas says he stayed for a longer time with Dido? Aeneas যদি একটা ভালো চরিত্র হয়, তার উপরে যদি গ্রেট রোমান এম্পায়ারের ভাগ্য নির্ভর করে, তাহলে ডিডোর সাথে এত বছর সে অতিবাহিত করলো কেন? So every character will have the human character, that means flaws, কিছু প্রবলেম আছে, আবার কিছু গুড সাইডও আছে। ওকে, so and as well as in his panicked flight from Troy. Okay, another question is that is Aeneas যদি অতই গ্রেট হিরো হলো, তাহলে এই যে গ্রেট এম্পায়ার, তারা তো ট্রয়ে স্থাপন করতে পারত, ট্রয় থেকে তারা পালিয়ে গেল কেন? তো তার মানেও হচ্ছে মানুষ চরিত্র হচ্ছে ভালো মন্দ মিশায়, দ্য কম্বিনেশন অফ গুড অ্যান্ড ব্যাড। এভরিথিং অফ আ হিউম্যান ক্যারেক্টার উইল নট বি অলওয়েজ গুড and will not be always bad. So in case of Aeneas is a person that is the combination of good things and the combination of bad action also as well. So Virgil was not interested in creating hollow shells in the which he could pile his values. He was interested in crafting real. Okay, যদি actually human being or human characters are full of good side and bad side. If Virgil could create an extraordinary, the best character, that cannot be the human like that. তাহলে তো সেটা সুপার হিউম্যান, যে তার কোনো ভুল হচ্ছে না। এনিয়াসের যদি কোনো ভুল না হতো তাহলে এনিয়াসকে আমরা মনে করতাম না যে এনিয়াসের সাথে আমাদের কমন যে মানুষের যে সিমিলারিটি সেটা আমরা খুঁজে পেতাম না, এর মতো কোনো ভুলই করে। কিন্তু তার মধ্যে he has found a desire. For this reason he stayed for a longer period of time, passing time with you. So, Virgil, what was the Virgil's intention? Virgil's intention, Virgil established Aeneas with the desire of a human like you and that being made it is a human like character or a real character like you, me and everyone. That was Virgil's craftsmanship. That was Virgil's craftsmanship. That is, Virgil did it in such a way that we love Aeneas, just like a human being. That is, a person like you and me.
Sir, যে ইনিয়াসকে তো গুড ধরা হয়েছে, আপনি বললেন যে সবাই সবসময় গুড সবসময় ব্যাড হয়, তো ডিনোকে যে ও গডদের কথায় মানে ওকে ছেড়ে দিল, তো এটা তো একজনের হার্ট ব্রেক করে না, সেক্ষেত্রে এনিয়াসকেও মানে তার গুড হিসেবে ধরা যায়।
হ্যাঁ, ইয়েস বলতে পারে।
এটা একটা পয়েন্ট হতে পারে।
হ্যাঁ, এটাও হতে পারে।
যে ও তো ওর হার্ট ভাঙছে, তো সেটা একটা
ইয়েস, অফ কোর্স হতে পারে। Okay, so that was the Virgil's craftsmanship. Okay, so these are the themes: humanity, respect for the rituals, religious rituals, prayer, patriotism, the gods and involvement of gods and goddesses, the faith. These are the common and the important themes in the epic poem, the Aeneid. Apart from that, we will be discussing a little bit about some characters, important characters of this epic poem, so that you will get understanding. And apart from this, that is Aeneas is the epic hero. Okay, Aeneas is the okay. Who can be the epic hero? We know. That means epic hero will be half man and half divine. An epic hero will be fighting for the country. Epic hero will be fighting for the heroic immortality. Okay, so Aeneas is that the TESOL. The pronunciation is TESOL, protagonist of the Aeneid. Aeneas is one of the great epic heroes, one of the ancestors of European Augustus, Emperor Augustus. Aeneas is one of the only survivors of the Trojan War. Troy was burnt by Greek soldiers, and all the heroes, they were died. Only one hero who has survived, that was Aeneas. A fearless warrior, and leader. They should be fearless. If they become afraid, if the leaders, if the warriors, if they become fearful, they cannot be warrior. So Aeneas was an example that he is fearless warrior and a remarkable leader who will lead the common people, who will lead, and on whose action, on Aeneas' action, the fate of great Roman Empire existed. So he is a great leader, remarkable leader. Aeneas guides his men through uncharted waters. Uncharted waters means where he has to. It was said that Aeneas will be establishing the great Roman Empire, but where? He doesn't know. Anyone who don't know. And for this reason, he had to go through waters, hills, oceans. So all of these adventure journey he had to take. For what? If it could not be Aeneas now by open the water, and for this reason, Aeneas has become the. So he has traveled for the uncharted waters and the terrible adversity, and finally bringing them to the land which they were destined. That means the Roman Empire. Okay, and the land that would one day become Rome. Aeneas is the embodiment of the number of characteristics highly
স্যার দাঁড়ায় যাওয়া লাগে মানে স্যার বাসে তারপরে দাঁড়ায় যাওয়া লাগে বাসে গিয়ে
Okay. Okay, so Aeneas is the epic hero. He is a great leader, and apart from that, Amata and Anchises, Andromache, and Dido. You will be reading the characters in Aeneas and Dido. That was very important. And if you get time next time, you will watch the movie online. Okay? So that's is it important? Okay. So thank you very much. Editing materials গুলো দেন না হ্যাঁ এডিটিং materials গুলো কমেন্ট পাঠাই দেব
টপিক কি ছিল